Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a model game to share with you from the 2015 Tata Steel Masters on the white end Fabiano Caruana, playing against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Alright, we have an open Sicilian, A6, Najdorf. A high-class waiting move is how this may sometimes be described. Let's see what your setup is going to be, Team White, before I make a decision with my own. B5 is also covered now. Don't you worry about piece jumps there. Caruana replies with h3. This is the Adams attack, a bit of a waiting move as well. All right, outside of this waiting game talk, what more is happening? G4 is now supported. If allowed, this guy starts to feel a little bit uneasy. May have to soon find a new home. Additionally, G4 is covered. And this guy may, as a result, feel comfortable now being deployed to E3. Don't have to worry about knight G4 moves. Now, instead of H3, this F3 move, one of many sixth moves for white, you'll note accomplishes similar as H3. Covers G4, supports G4, and you could even say it is more purposeful in that it supports white's center. What are some differences with this Adams attack? Well, white's intention here is to fianchetto the bishop. And once fianchettoed, it's not going to stare at, now, a white pawn on F3. Additionally, this F pawn with the Adams attack can think more aggressively, can think about playing two steps in one go. Okay, how to reply here? It's E5, knight finds a new home, black continues here with H5. Note if black isn't attentive to this G4 idea and simply develops another piece, this could already start to feel a little bit uncomfortable for black, to be sure. G4 is in there. What are you doing about G5? Also, if you cut out G5, this construction right here, just know, can be a really dangerous thing to deal with as black. Knight jump on that F5 square. Okay, this arrangement, it's probably best to not allow this arrangement. Pawn on G4, knight on G3. It's cut out altogether in one swing, H5. White says, fine, I can't go 2. Gotta go 1. Bishop's developed, and now knight B to D7. Follow up here is A5. You see what just happened there? There's a certain relationship here. Let me just back up one move each. There's a certain relationship here between the queen knight and this queen rook pawn. If black in this position, let's say, developed the bishop to E7, and white said, well, I'll still play this move. Hang on. This knight is no longer going to go to D7. C6 is now more attractive because with A4 in there, B4 is now more vulnerable. This knight can look to post there, not easily kicked away, and who knows, may soon coordinate with the rook on C2. The knight may find it difficult to move all of a sudden. And also, from the B4 square, what is it doing? It's controlling D5, which is supporting the liberating D5 advance. So, timing is my point. Note the timing here. It's only after the knight has made a commitment to D7 that the A pawn advances. Not so easy to get to this square now. All right, from here, bishop E7, castles, rook C8, bishop E3, and the follow-up here is knight to B6. Instead of bishop to E3, if white is clamping down on this structure here, black can still play B5 in this position. And if there's the capture en passant, the queen's coming out. Maybe the queen even is a moment away from supporting a D5 advance. So you could still get in a b5 break even if a5 is played here. There's also even a rook c5 move you can consider. All right, in this game though, no a5, bishop e3 here. Knight b6. Eyeing up really strong square c4. That's cut out with b3. And now we have d5, so we get this break in. This is a pawn sacrifice. How black is playing this? He's going to lose a pawn very soon. But as compensation, he's going to acquire the bishop pair. Now, if we take stock here, attackers on the d5 square, 4 attackers, and there are 4 defenders. However, this guy is not stable. It can be swiped, and is dark square bishop for knight exchange. And now in the end, white is going to win the pawn. Ends up taking with the knight in this position. If you take with the pawn instead, this knight really doesn't feel so comfortable. The main reason I see at least is that, the c-pawn isn't able to easily play a role. It's already pinned in this position because of the pressure on c2. So the c-pawn is somewhat backward, we might say. So that's why we have knight captures d5, knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, and then the bishop backs off. So black has the bishop pair and is down a pawn. White has a passed pawn as well. Notice that black doesn't care here about having the move. What am I talking about exactly? Black can, of course, capture on d5 in a different way, taking with the bishop. And after the recapture, this pawn is not generating any threat. This gives black a moment to breathe and make a productive move, but it's not important to have that next move right away and continue in some sharp fashion. What's more important here is to maintain this positive, the bishop pair. These two really turn out to be killers. Now, the structure has changed significantly. White has a queenside majority, black has a kingside majority. It's the kingside where black will be looking to play. This guy here is passed, but under control. Got 2 pieces on this square. It's really going nowhere fast. Now, white continues here with c4. Another path white can choose here is one where you just give the material back. I'm not saying it's the best, but I want to show you at least an idea here for white, and that is to pitch this pawn right away. And this square opens up now for the bishop and the queen. However, it's really the knight that would like to one day end up there. Now, this d6 idea would not be played to follow up with bishop captures b7 here, trying to say, aha, your queen is overloaded. Black would come out ahead if white continued in this way, capturing on b7. Black could take and meet this capture with bishop takes h3, not only threatening the rook, we got a mate threat on g2. Black would be winning in exchange from here. Okay. How white can play it, however, is to meet this capture on d6 with now c4. The rook no longer covers c3, and white's ready to go with this maneuver. So just some food for thought here. A way to just give the material right back and open up a square for a knight. Okay. In this game, the d pawn lives. c4 on board, a connected passed pawn for white. Queen d6, in general, not the most efficient blockader, but she is stable here, not allowing any d6 ideas anymore. Now, a5. This clamps down on this structure. Don't have to worry about any b5 ideas. If ever b5, white's prepared to now take en passant. Okay, follow up now, f5, not castles, f5 on board, getting the majority rolling. And now we have h4. Now, if white wanted to prevent h4, let's say instead of playing queen d3, playing h4 right now, black can respond with g5. And this can turn really sharp, really fast. After a capture, you can recapture or even just advance on the h-file. Now, whose king is going to be safer in the end? Who knows? King in the center here, but this h-file is close to opening up, and there's going to be a black rook breathing down the white king's neck. Very sharp position ahead if white is trying to hold up this h4 idea. In this game, it's queen d3. h4. Black wants to see, are you going to allow the h-file to open up? Black isn't just castling here. It's h4 first, also known as a dark square softener, trying to break down the dark squares in white's camp. This is good news for the unopposed dark square bishop. One of two things will now happen for black. A, an opened h-file, or B, some weakened dark squares. White doesn't want to see an opened h-file, so a square is weakened, f4 being the main one. Notice here, there's a tempting move, and that is e4. Right? You could advance upon with tempo. Why is black not playing in this way? Well, remember earlier I was pointing out the relationship between a queen knight and a queen rook pawn? There's a similar relationship here with this guy and this guy. Currently, the e-pawn does a fantastic job of taming the e2 knight. We're going to see that the e-pawn only moves in this game after this guy moves. If black in this position plays e4, fine. The queen finds a new home and this knight is ready to go, one way or the other, eyeing up the weakest square in white's camp. It can quickly be the case that this 0 piece, this worst piece, becomes a best piece in a blink. Okay, now that we know the h-file will not open up, castles. This is a file that can easily open up now. Caruana continues here with knight c3. This is where white starts to go astray. What's considered best here? One of the ideas, break up the duo, capture on f5, and then put your queen on e3. White will look to play on the e4 square, can even look to put the rook on the g-file from here. Do know that this move here, bishop e3, is flawed, would be flawed. Queen g6 would be there with check, and the piece would be won. Okay. In this game, it is knight c3, and sure enough, as soon as that knight moves, now we're ready to go. We feel much more comfortable playing e4 in this case. And now, with e4 in there, this diagonal has opened up. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, I'm giving a big hint here by highlighting this diagonal. Black's plan is to now form a battery and key in on that h2 square. The big question here is how exactly to form that battery. You need to be delicate in this case, and black is here. The best move is bishop to d8. He's going to form a battery with the queen on d6 and bishop on c7. There's a significant difference between forming a battery where the queen is on e5 and the bishop is on d6. You never get that battery in if you try that approach. Why? Well, if the queen goes to e5 here, it seems like a much more appealing approach, right? You're at least moving forward. You're maybe even eyeing up some bishop c5 idea one day. Hang on, though. Timing is everything. In this case, white would have an excellent move in f4 here. And now white has increased control over the dark squares, has essentially shut down this idea to form a battery on this diagonal. There is not a capture en passant here. You'd lose the queen. This is a reason to stay off of the e5 square. So black's approach is to simply maneuver the bishop on c7 here. If white were to try f4 in this position, now we can take and follow up with bishop c7. We're getting into h2, and it will be big trouble for white. Best play here is considered. Bishop captures e4 against this idea here to form the battery. We're going to transition now into not only an endgame, but the following imbalance. It's a knight and 3 pawns versus 2 bishops. The bishops are too strong here. Black has an excellent grip over the dark squares. The f4 square, this guy is backward. We're going to see these bishops really turn out to be killers. Follow up bishop to e7. The white king improves. If white is trying something else here, let's say meeting bishop e7 with d6, black can always think about this imbalance, swiping the knight and then the pawn. These 2 bishops will outweigh the rook and 2 pawns. And in this position here, there's no fear of a skewer. There's a way out through a check on c5. Okay, white's plan, it's the endgame. Let's bring the king towards the center. Now, it's already a very difficult task ahead for white. One of the strengths of the bishop pair in an endgame. The king wants to be in the center, but what color square, what color complex is best for the king? He never quite feels comfortable when these 2 are still around. Double up on the f-file, king e3, simple idea to maneuver to g6, capture the knight, and then crash through here along the f-file. What is white's try here? He goes with c5. If we revisit this advance here, rook takes knight is not considered best in this case. It says you can calmly retreat the bishop, have an eye on this pawn, and right around the corner, bishop c6 will be excellent. Really gluing everything together on the queen side and holding up all the key pawn advances on the queen side. All right, white does not play in this way. He gets rolling with c5, now looking forward to d6, but a big square has just been given up on b5, and black hops right to it, attacking the rook. The rook doesn't even move in this case. In the game, we have b4. If the rook plays to f2, black can respond in the same ways in the game, and that is to capture the knight, even better than taking the rook here. Now, how should white respond? If you take here with the pawn, you're just going to lose a full piece here on f1. So it's king takes rook. And now the follow-up, rook to e8. What a difficult move this must have been for Caruana to meet. Setting up clearly a discovered check. And where exactly is that king supposed to go? Threat here. Why not win a pawn and say check? White responds here with king to f4. Gets out of the line of fire. Gets off of the e-file. If some other move is played, let's say king f5, here's how black can respond. A bishop check If you go to the E file, you're running into bishop captures pawn, and if you go here, you're really asking for trouble because bishop E8 will be checkmate next. No defense to it. Also, once more to emphasize just how deadly these bishops can be, if king D4 here, that's mate. Look at these guys. Okay. In this game, it is king F4, G5 check, king F5, king F7, and white now continues with rook D to E1. If something else is tried, let's say rook A to D1, stopping bishop D3 check, here's how black can continue. Insert a check, and next up, we're going to have bishop captures pawn. The king has to go to the E file in this position. King E4, check. Could even continue with the skewer. Plenty of ways to do it from here. All right, in this game, we have rook F to E1, bishop D3 check, rook E4, and after bishop F6, Caruana resigns. Look at this final position. Look at how pinned up white is. King has no moves. Rook is pinned, the other rook is under fire, and worst of all, for white, there's no defense against mate in 1. Rook E5 is mate. The only way to defend that here, if the game continued, F4, well, bishop captures rook would then be mate. Okay, after bishop F6 in this game, Caruana had enough. These bishops were real killers. What'd you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.